So this is the story of my first son's birth. He's now 6 years old, so it's a little while ago. Uh, but on December 28th, 2010, I was at home with my husband. We'd made it through Christmas, hanging out on the couch and eating Chinese food, Skyping with our family, who we were not visiting, chilling with the dogs, and generally waiting for this baby to arrive. We were 2 days short of our due date, and I was feeling really big and really ready to get this baby out, but had not yet felt a single contraction. People every week at yoga class were talking about their Braxton Hicks contractions. And I'm like, yeah, those. I've heard of those. Totally feel them, yeah. But so far it seemed like he was really happy. So we had spent the last trimester getting ready, working on our religiously listening to our hypnobirthing CD every night because I was totally going for, natural labor and was using it for my aid. We'd developed a birth plan. We'd been to endless prenatal appointments, and generally we were ready to go. In the car, we had the car seat installed. We had our bag packed, ready to go, and I'd even put a clean garbage bag and a towel in the car because, like Kat, I was really worried about the car getting super messy. But, labor rarely starts with your water breaking. It's like less than 10% of the time. And even then, it's like a trickle. It's not like Hollywood. So it was really kind of overkill. So that morning, I decided to go to my prenatal yoga class because what else is an enormously pregnant woman going to do in the middle of winter? And my husband, who was getting a little bit edgy with the whole 2 days until the due date thing, decided to come with me and hang out at the Starbucks down the street. And I teased him because I was like, clearly there's no imminent parenthood happening here. And he's like, no, it's cool, I'll come. And so he went to the Starbucks, I went to prenatal yoga class, and that class always starts with, tell us about yourself, what's your name, when are you due, how are you feeling? And I was basically like, I'm enormously pregnant, I'm ready for this baby, nothing's happening, and I'm really frustrated, but yay. Pregnancy. So, we started the class. Everyone's, doing their poses. I'm not really a yoga person, but I do prenatal yoga because it's good for you and it's something to do each week, and there are other pregnant women there. And we got about 35 minutes in, and we were doing some kind of pose where you put your legs out and you reach down for the support block and everything else, and it happened. That whole Hollywood thing that never happens in real life. That. And it was such a big splash, such an enormous thing. Everyone turned and looked at me. I just froze. I was completely mortified. I was like, I don't even know what to do now. It's like, I'm just gonna stand here because if I move, it'll make a really big mess. On the other hand, I was pretty sure that not moving wasn't really a great end game either. I was pretty sure I had to go somewhere. And so I was like, okay, I'll just clean it up. And people were like, yeah, you can't clean it up. And they started bringing over towels, and I was like, okay, well, give them to me. And they're like, no, really, this isn't, you don't need to do this. And the yoga instructor was really kind. She was really patient with me. She's like, I think you should call your husband and leave. She's like, I don't think staying here is actually helping because you're still kind of dripping everywhere. So I went ahead and called him. He met me out front. And I was like, it's cool. I'm still not even having any contractions. Like, I don't even know why this happened. This is weird. But we put down the garbage bag, we put down the towel, and got in the car. And it was 20 minutes to our house. We're like, all right, cool. We'll drive home. We'll have some lunch because they never feed you at the hospital once you're in labor. So we'll go home and have some lunch. We'll walk the dogs. We'll get the bag, everything. We started driving home and started having some contractions. And I wasn't sure that's what they were, but I started to figure it out as they started happening more regularly and painfully. And by the time we got home 20 minutes later, I was like, I think I'm gonna actually just stay in the car. Can you grab the bag? And I'm gonna call the hospital and we should probably go now. And my husband's like, really? I was like, yeah, really. We should probably go now. And I don't remember a whole lot. I think he was inside for like 5 minutes. I think the dogs got out to pee, but they did not get walked. He got back in the car, we drove to the hospital. I know we did call ahead. I know it wasn't snowing because we'd worried about that endlessly because a December 30th due date. But it was fine. And we got to the hospital and they were like, well, do you want a wheelchair to go up to the room? And I was like, oh, that's kind of, yeah. And oh, wait, no, I can't walk. Yeah, I do want a wheelchair. But I kind of might make it really messy. And they're like, it's okay. it's just the hospital wheelchair. And so they wheeled me up. We got upstairs, or I got upstairs, and they gave me a room in triage. And they're like, well, we need to swab to see if your water actually broke. And I was like, okay, do you want to just swab the wheelchair or, the car or maybe even the yoga mat? Like, this doesn't seem subtle. They're like, okay, well, we'll just do the bed. And I was like, all right. And Rockham got there a couple minutes later, which was great. My water had, in fact, broken. They put sensors on my belly. They gave me a gown. Everything was fine. I was in triage. Rockham hooked me up with my hypnobirthing headphones and everything. And within a couple of minutes, I was like, I can't lie down anymore. This is really big. And so I stood up, and the headphones fell out. And he was like, do you want them back? I was like, no, I don't want them back. Turns out hypnobirthing wasn't for me. It's like, this is good. And he kept on getting progressively more anxious. My husband was like, I really think we need a room now. And I was like, I don't, it's whatever. And then the nurse showed up. She's like, oh, you guys okay in here? Turns out I'm not really quiet when I labor. So he was like, I think we really need a room. And they were like, all right. And they got us a room a couple minutes later. We got in the room. Everything was going on. The doctor showed up. I was like, I don't know. The anesthesiologist showed up, and I was like, no, we're not doing pain meds. And he's like, well, we really need to talk to you, and here's some papers to read. And I was like, what? I can't read papers. And Rockham's like, you need to just go. And I was like, thank you. And it kept going on. And the nurse was like, you seem like you're really dealing with a lot. And I was like, yeah, if this is pre-labor, what is actual labor? Where are we going with this? They're like, well, let's check you. And they checked me, and it turns out I'd been in transition, which is apparently really intense. And I was really close to actually having this baby. And she's like, well, why don't we stand you up, relax you, put you in the shower, you'll be good. And we stood up, and another contraction hit. And she's like, she helped me through it. And we got to the end. She's like, are you pushing? And I was like, how would I know that? I've never done this before. And she's like, we're not going to get you in the shower. We're actually going to put you in the bed. And she went and got the doctor, and the doctor came in, which was really good, because then my baby was born, which I don't remember a lot of. I remember it was really hard. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of pressure. I remember squeezing the arm rail of the bed really, really hard. I remember squeezing Rockham's hand really hard, and I remember it took several days for that to recover. It turns out there was a lot of screaming involved, not a lot of dignity. But we got to the end. I pushed out that baby, and they handed him right up to me. And it was just, this messy, slick, mess-covered baby, and it was so gross. And at the same time, the most wonderful moment ever. And I looked down, and I'd worked so hard to meet this baby, and I was so completely exhausted. And it was really spectacular. And in the end, on December 28th, I became a mom. It was my first baby. It was 2 days early. It was 4 hours from my water breaking and yoga class to that baby showing up at the other end, which was pretty quick. But it was great. So thank you.